Usually we do this walkthrough for an hour every month or two just to give everyone a chance to learn how the system works and to answer any questions you guys might have. So we have a whole hour set aside for our SAP Access through Michael Management.
And we are also streaming on YouTube. So if we have any questions coming in from there, Sarah, I will let you know. And it looks like we don't have any attendees right now, but if I see anyone jump on, I will let them know that they can ask us questions via chat. But for now, hopefully we'll get some questions coming in from our YouTube stream.
Great. So usually we would have Nicole Land here with us. She's actually had just some family things going on today. So Claire and I will be taking over. Nicole is one of our instructors and SAP Access gurus. Claire works directly with our instructors, and then I work with a little bit of everybody and do a little bit of everything. So we are a big part of the MMC team. And we are all pretty easy to get a hold of, but generally if you have questions or concerns, especially about SAP Access, you will actually want to reach out to me. I'm Sarah, and I'll get you all my contact info sort of at the end of the meeting, but it's also just really easy to get me on our chat or at info@michaelmanagement.com. So right now we have quite a few SAP Access options. Basically, it is a live sandbox. You get to log in real time, and it's to learn and to practice. Because if you were, say, working at a big company, you wouldn't want to log into your company's SAP and try things out. You could really cause some big problems, right? So this is a great way to learn or just get some real life practice before you get into a real system, or even just brush up. Maybe it's been a while since you've used SAP. Maybe there's been a new release come out, or your work is shifting to a more current release and you want to see what's different. There's a lot of reasons why it might be useful to you. We also recognize that SAP is very expansive, right? So it's not a one-size-fit-all type thing. There's a lot of different things you could be wanting to use, wanting to test, want to try in the system. And that's why we do offer, basically, it's like a 10-day worry-free guarantee, or you might call it a trial. If at any point during the first 10 days of your subscription, you realize the product's not working for you, maybe you just don't need it, your work project gets canceled, literally whatever reason, you can just shoot us an email or a chat and let us know, hey, it's not going to work for me, and I will refund you in full. So you don't have to worry that, oh, what if it doesn't work? I've wasted my money. Also, you have some flexibility if, say, you sign up for one system and you realize, oh, we actually use something else at work. I don't need this one. You can also just email me and I'll switch you around between systems. It's fairly simple process and fairly fast. So here are some of our more popular systems. We have S/4HANA 2020, and that is my general recommendation for anyone that's not sure what they want, because it is the newest version of SAP, period. A lot of places you'll find don't even have a sandbox yet like we do. And it is extremely fast. We have upgraded a lot of equipment and servers for this latest release. So it is much more speedy than anything we've ever offered before. I also have lots of people that use S/4HANA 1809. And of course, we have an ECC system with Enhancement Pack 8 on HANA. We do have several other systems, and you'll find that all on our SAP Access page. And anyone that wants a link to that, we'll email that out today as well. You'll also see developer options below this, but most people will use the standard public client. If you're not sure if you need a developer option, you probably don't need it. So what can you do? You can definitely do configuration. Some people call it SPRO. That's a question we get fairly often. Can you customize? Can you configure? Can you do SPRO? Yes. On literally anything we offer, you can do that. ABAP development. Yes, it does require an ABAP package, which you'll find on that same page, and we have several. But yes, you can definitely do that. And one thing I really like to tell my ABAP customers is that you actually develop within a private namespace. So no one can see what you're working on. Basically, all your data is safe and secret and secure. So you can create master data and you can create transactional data. So most things you could do in a standard SAP system, you can do in the sandbox. Can I have a private system? Yes, you can have a private system. So those prices you saw just now were for public offerings. So a private system is going to be it's going to be a different cost breakdown, and we do have a page on the website for that. You don't have to share with anyone at all when you have a private system. So no one can see anything you're doing. No one can change anything the way that they could on a public client. You control everything basically. You don't have to worry that it's going to be different when you come in the next day or the next week. So this is really great if you need the system for sales demos, for training scenarios, maybe a development platform. So we have a lot of different clients that use private access in different ways. I believe we even have a few universities who set up a private system for their students so that they know they're all working and training on the exact same data all the time, and they don't have to worry about anyone disrupting their training. So that can definitely be an option as well. And again, I'm probably going to be the best person to talk to if you have questions about that. And you can, again, chat me or email me, and I can go over it with you. A lot of people want to know, how do I log on when I get SAP Access? Well, you have some options. One is obviously a desktop GUI. You don't have to have it already. We do provide a link, download a walkthrough guide, a PDF guide for you. So lots and lots of free resources. Or if you're just having a lot of trouble or you need a walkthrough, there's a one-time $49 fee. And typically I will remote into your computer and just set it up for you. You could just go drink some coffee or something. But it's fairly easy install and setup process. And then this slide here is just basically showing you how to configure it, because sometimes you may download the desktop GUI and realize this looks a little different than the one I have at work. Well, it's usually just the theme. There are a few different themes that are really popular in the GUI. And if you're having trouble, if you say, hey, I set it up like this and it looks like this on my work computer, you can, again, just email me and I can walk you through this process. But this slide is also really easy to come back to. And then I do recommend the Belize theme because it seems to be what most people use and prefer, but also probably SAP Signature is the next popular. So if it doesn't look right, I would say try one of those two first, because that's probably what you're looking for. Logging in is fairly simple. It really works just like logging into any SAP GUI. You have a launch pad and you hit log on and you establish a connection. We send you all your connection details and login details when you sign up. It takes usually 15 minutes or less to get an email with everything. It's automated now. If for some reason it's been 15, 20, 30 minutes and you don't have login details yet, it probably hit your spam. If you still don't see it, again, please chat me, email me, reach out to me somehow, and I will make sure that you get it. So you're just entering your client ID, your username, and your password here on this screen. You do get an initial password upon setup, and then you will be asked to create your own unique password so that no one else has it. In this section, we're just talking about setting up favorites. So I know I, for example, have one transaction I do probably every single day. So instead of having to type that shortcut code, that transaction code over and over again, we just set it up in our favorites. So you can drag and drop, you can right click. It's pretty easy to do. And I believe you have some preset favorites as well when you log in. So you just have, again, more settings. You can maintain your user profile that controls how the decimals are notated. Maybe there's a certain date and time format that you use or you use at work. I know we have customers all over the globe. And I mean, here in the United States, we do kind of a weird date format that most places don't use, right? So you can just basically set it up to match whatever data entry parameters you use in your career. And then when you see the SAP menu, you're going to kind of see just how expansive it is. There's a lot of different common modules right there, easy to get to, a lot of common actions that you can practice and click around and play around in. You can look at the menu trees. Yes, it's usually easier to type transaction codes, but I find it interesting to be able to go through the menu trees and kind of see a little bit of everything, especially if you're thinking about becoming maybe a consultant or somebody who doesn't stick into just one module. I think that's really helpful. So this is just some practice that Nicole usually would go through with everyone. How to find materials in the system, how to pull up a material list, basically just showing, hey, it's really easy to do basic functions that a lot of people use SAP for. We have people that use these every single day. GL account display is definitely, for my FICO people, a super common one. Just kind of familiarizing yourself with the system. If you haven't used SAP before, you might be surprised there are a lot of error messages that can come up, and they can be a little tricky, especially SAP is really old software that's been retooled and redeveloped for a couple decades, and it started out German, so not everything translates perfectly always. It can be a little confusing to look at error codes and messages. So we actually have a free error code lookup tool on our website that I think is very useful for anybody who has SAP Access. I know I use it all the time. And then maybe if you just don't feel like you got enough information or you don't understand how to resolve your error, you can always just Google it or check the SAP forums as well for more support and backup to get those errors resolved. Normally right now I would take some questions, but I think we are a little, we don't really have a lot of questions today, so I can go over some things that usually get asked, and I think Claire had a few questions maybe from our audience online.
Yes, yeah, I have actually 2 questions coming in from YouTube. So the first one, we have a student asking about our trial period, if we have a trial period and how that works.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily call it like a traditional trial. To me, I call it a worry-free or a money-back guarantee. So you sign up and you have 10 days to tell me it's not working for me, or I don't, whatever, for whatever reason, it just doesn't suit your needs. So anytime within the first 10 days, I will give you a full refund, no questions asked. It won't be a long back and forth email conversation. You just say, hey, Sarah, it doesn't work. And I'll say, okay, here's your money, So that's kind of how we do our trial. And then if you are thinking about doing like a private client, like we talked to or spoke about earlier, sometimes during the quote process, I might grant you a public client trial for a few days just to make sure it looks right before you spend, dedicated client money, because that's a lot of money for you to upfront without testing something out. But yeah, so you definitely can try it without risk, but I wouldn't necessarily call it like a trial the way some places say the word trial. Sorry if that wasn't a super simple answer. I don't want to set any improper expectations. And you can cancel at any time too, because it is a subscription. So when you're done using it, you can still just say, hey, I don't want to use it anymore. And it'll keep working through your bill cycle date. And then I'll just cancel it on the day that it would have normally rebilled. So you don't have to play that game where you're, I got to cancel right at this day. Otherwise I don't get to use, everything I paid for. But if I wait too long, I'll get rebilled. It's not one of those type of situations. I never want anyone to feel like they're stuck with it. It just recurs to keep from interrupting you. So if you're done training, you just let me know and I'll set it to end.
Perfect. Makes sense. Very clear. Thank you. And then the second question we had coming in was just asking if we could talk a bit more about 2020. They said that they've heard that's our newest system and why someone would choose that over another system.
Yeah. So, okay, for me, one thing is my personal preference when I train, I always want to train on what's the newest, most up to date. Because even if not everyone is using 2020 yet, eventually everyone's going to, right? It's inevitable. And it's all the same product, it's just a newer release. So even if your job is still using 1809, I say still get 2020 because eventually they're going to go to the newer release. And they're also so very similar that it's still going to be very useful for you while they're using 1809. But for our specific product, another reason why I say 2020 is the way to go, we completely changed the way we did server equipment when we got 2020 because we really just wanted to upgrade everything and we wanted everything to be faster and more reliable. I know with a lot of products, you buy like 20-hour blocks. For example, you don't do that with us. It's 24/7. You buy a month, you get the full month. And if you want to sit on SAP all month long and not sleep, I mean, you should probably talk to your doctor about that, but it doesn't bother me. You can use it all you want. So with 2020, it's so very fast because we upgraded it so much because we understand that we could have a lot of users on the system at a time because we don't limit you guys' usage. So for that, we said we really just need everything to be really, really fast because we're getting more and more customers. And that's the main thing is it's insanely fast. It's on an insane power grid. Like it's, I would be very, very surprised if it ever went down for any reason the way they have it set up. And that's I mean, I'm not going to get into every single technical specification because that'll probably bore most of you, but I know I use it every day, right? Because I work here. And I know that when I logged into it the first time, I just could not even believe it, how fast it was. I was blown away. Now when I have to use something else, I'm like, oh. So, yeah, so that's it's my favorite and it's the best and it's the fastest. But I mean, if you're not ready for it, there's nothing wrong with the other systems. It's just it's very fast. I hate to just say the same word over and over again, but when you're talking about technology, is there a more important word than fast? Probably not.
Very true. We used it for our last live class, and I was amazed at how quickly the system was functioning. So great that we have that. Okay, perfect. Well, I don't have any more questions coming in from YouTube, so thank you for answering both of those.
Yeah, so I think this might be just a short session today, and that's okay. I'm sure lots of people are preparing for the holidays. But again, this is going to be up on YouTube, and it will stay on our YouTube. And again, you always, everyone can always reach out to me. I am info@michaelmanagement.com or sblackman@michaelmanagement.com, or you can reach me on the live chat. This webinar link will have all these resources. These are the free resources we talked about today. I have written a blog post for everyone that walks you through the entire setup process of establishing your connection, doing your checkout, every little thing, and that's that link in the middle. And then this is the error code lookup tool that we referenced earlier today. We also, if you just don't know much about SAP, I say, please don't jump into SAP Access. If you know nothing about SAP, it's not that kind of software. Unfortunately, I taught myself AutoCAD and Photoshop as a child. I cannot jump into SAP and know what I was doing. Never. It's just not that kind of software. So if you're thinking about getting SAP Access because you don't know anything about SAP, please do me a favor. Check out these simulation courses in this link instead. These are software training classes, obviously, for SAP. But the great thing about them is it's not what I call poke and puke. It's not someone just lecturing you. It is a simulation that has like a miniature version of a sandbox built into the course where you click along and learn live, and then you have a test where you click along. So it's like a miniature version of SAP Access in a training course. Insanely helpful for new users. There's not a better way to learn SAP, period. And then of course, here's that one-on-one live access section I mentioned, that if you need some help setting up your GUI for whatever reason you're having trouble, I can walk you through it. And I also want to mention we do have a web GUI option. So maybe you want to use Access on your work computer and you're not allowed to download things. Completely fine. You can still use it. I will just make sure, do we have any more questions come in from YouTube or anything before we end our session today?
Let me check. It looks like, nope, you did such a good